Is there a big tax bill headed your way this year that you'd like to minimize or even eliminate? If so, pay close attention. I'll teach you a strategy that allows you to have your cake and eat it too. I'm Brian Ellis. You'll learn it right now in episode 170.
You're listening to Self-Directed Investor Radio, America's only podcast exclusively for affluent, self-directed investors, where each day of the week you receive innovative investment strategy and deadly accurate market analysis that's untainted by Wall Street and unblemished by government propaganda, all in 7 minutes or less. Coming to you now from iTunes, Stitcher, and SDIRadio.com, here's your host, Brian Ellis.
Hello, SDI Nation. Welcome to the podcast of record for savvy, self-directed investors like you. Was 2015 a great year for you, and now you need a way to get a huge tax break to avoid throwing your money away in that great pit of waste called the federal government? I've got just the thing for you. It combines a huge present-day tax deductions, benefits for your favorite charity, and the ability for you to own and control your money and even change your mind in any way you want. I've got to credit my colleague, Tim Berry, tax attorney extraordinaire, for sharing this information with me. He recently used this strategy to help a client of his get a whopping $480,000 tax deduction. Yeah, huge. So here's how it works, without the legal jargon. What you do is you pick a charity that's important to you. You also pick an amount of on-hand capital you have to contribute to that charity. Now, I can just hear some of you thinking, so your big strategy is to get a charitable tax deduction, huh? Now, there's more to it than that, but think with me about this. What if you could get a huge charitable tax deduction right now, but spread out the contributions over many, many years and even control that money the entire time so you can invest it and keep the profits yourself in the meantime? In other words, get a huge tax deduction right now for payments that are made over the course of a long period of time. Yep, that's right. So here's how it works, with, again, some of the details left out just so that it's easy to understand. You, or better yet, your attorney, set up something called a charitable lead trust, and you specify your favorite charity as the beneficiary. You then put a big lump sum of money into that trust, and you agree to pay the money to the charity on an annual basis over a long period of time, such as 30 years. It works out in such a way where you're paying just a tiny bit on the front end and a whole lot on the back end. But here's the important thing. In the meantime, you have near absolute control of that money, which you can invest for further profits. And here's the beautiful kicker. You get to keep those profits yourself, or virtually all of them. This profit goes back to you, not to the charity. You can do with that money as you please. Now, that's not the end of the cool things about this strategy, but I want to make sure you understand where we've gotten so far. At this point, you've gotten a huge tax deduction for this year by doing little more than committing to giving money to a charity over a 30-year period of time. The IRS will allow you to take a deduction immediately in connection with the value of that commitment. And so you get to save on your taxes big time for this year. And truth be told, the amount of the contribution you have to make in the first several years is tiny, negligible in fact. But you still get to take the huge tax deduction up front, and you still get to control the capital inside that trust and invest it in any way you want. And don't forget, nearly all of the profits generated go back into your pocket. Plus, you can change your mind at any time you want. You could at any time take your money back out of that trust. You would have to repay the portion of the tax deduction to which you're no longer entitled, but you have complete control to take that money back at any time you want it if you change your mind. And if you think about it, having to repay the tax deduction to which you're no longer entitled, that's pretty amazing too, because that's not subject to penalties or interest. It's like a zero interest loan to pay your taxes for the years between when you set up the trust and the day you close it down. So we're already a bit deeper into the woods on this than I want to be. The bottom line is this. If you had a good year this year and you need a big tax deduction, you should seriously consider the potential for wise use of a charitable lead trust. And of course, if you don't already have a lawyer who is intimately familiar with this strategy, I suggest you reach out to Tim Berry. You can find his contact info at sdiradio.com/Tim. Another variation of this idea that's far simpler and a better option if you're totally committed to making a gift to charity is to use a donor-advised fund. Think of a donor-advised fund as your very own meta-charity. It's like a tax-favored investment account for the benefit of the charities of your choice. So the way it works is this. You contribute money or assets to the fund, which generates an immediate tax deduction for you. You can then grow that through investments, and the profits from those investments accumulate tax-free in the fund. And at whatever time you choose, you can distribute some or all of the money in that account, whether principal or profits, to the charities of your choice. This works particularly well if you're considering a large gift to a single charity, but you'd rather space out the giving over time so that the charity must remain frugal in their financial allocations. So how do you decide between a charitable lead trust or a donor-advised fund, or even a direct gift to a charity? Well, you do well to speak with Tim Berry or your own financial advisor, but my assessment is this. If you're absolutely certain that you want to give money to a charity and receive a full deduction for that contribution immediately, and you're comfortable with the charity receiving the entire gift at one time, then a direct charitable contribution is for you. Now, if you're absolutely certain you want to give the money to a charity and receive a full deduction for the contribution immediately, but you'd either like to invest the money and grow it more before giving it, or even just space out the delivery of the gift over time, then a donor-advised fund is for you. And if you're interested primarily in a present-day tax deduction that has positive benefits for a charity, but about which you can change your mind at any time and not be penalized, then the charitable lead trust may be best for you. That's all for now, my friends. If you missed the unusual brief update I published yesterday afternoon about a special investment opportunity, then check it out right now on iTunes or at SDIRadio.com. And be sure you're on our update list so that you get notification about those great opportunities by texting the word SDI Radio to 33444. Again, text the word SDI Radio, all one word, no spaces or periods. Text SDI Radio to 33444. Join me tomorrow for another excursion into investment excellence, and in the meantime, invest wisely today and live well forever.
Thank you for listening to Self-Directed Investor Radio with Brian Ellis. Don't miss a single episode. Be sure to subscribe to Self-Directed Investor Radio right now on iTunes, on Stitcher, and at SDIRadio.com. Your feedback is always welcomed via email at feedback@SDIRadio.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended as legal or professional advice for your situation. Content is the property of the Self-Directed Investor Society.